What is going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 33 of Locker Talk Live. I am Wack, and joined with me today for our Thursday preview show is the one and only Scotty T and the one and only Shana. Scotty, how you doing today, man? I know it's a big day for us because yesterday was the season premiere of season 41 of Survivor. Oh man, so glad it's back. Been 18 months. Scotty, how you doing, man?
Survivor's back, baby. Can't wait. And most importantly, week 5 of Texas high school football starts tonight. Volleyball district plays. Harmony going. Man, it's a great time to be alive. Very blessed. Working from home today, so if the dog barks, I apologize. But hey, we're doing good. I want to throw it up to Shana. Shana, how are you doing?
Doing good. As always, I'm ready for the week ahead, ready to get going. I don't watch Survivor, so I'm not as hyped for that. Maybe I'll start this year.
Well, look, if you have a subscription to Paramount Plus, definitely go check it out. I think Survivor actually, it's been popular, right? 41 seasons now, but it definitely got, I guess you could say it started trending during the pandemic because a lot of people didn't have anything to do and they just sat down and started watching it. One of the players, Danny McCray, who by the way went to high school at Westfield, then went to college at LSU, and then played in the pros for your one and only Dallas Cowboys, baby, and the Chicago Bears as well. He actually said he started watching Survivor during the pandemic, and that's what wanted to make him get on the show. So it's definitely had an uptick in popularity. So if you haven't checked it out yet, check it out. Scott, by the way, if you don't know this and you have Paramount Plus, seasons, I think 4 and on of Australian Survivor are now on Paramount Plus. So I know I haven't never seen Australia Survivor, so I'm going to be checking that out. Just a little entertainment tidbit for all you fans out there. But yes, it is our Thursday preview show, and as always, we take a look at some of the games across Austin, San Antonio, DFW, and Houston, and kind of break them down for you. We got 6 on the slate today. Some of these will be on our pick'ems tomorrow, so maybe just say who you favor right now and save those picks for tomorrow. But let's start off with the big one. Let's start off with Rockwall versus Rockwall Heath. Shana, this is probably the big one in DFW this week. Tell us a little bit about this game.
As you know, Rockwall is coming off of a huge big-time loss to Highland Park, despite a really tough battle. They're going to have extra fire because of that, because, I think everybody was so on board with Rockwall doing well this season. And, Highland Park is a tough team to lose to, especially when you know how good they are and you know you want to beat them. On the other hand, you have in-town rival Rockwall Heath, and they are also amazing. You have quarterback Josh Hoover, who's thrown for over 1,200 yards with 13 touchdowns. His pass completion percentage is 74%. And you have Zach Evans, Jay Fair, Jordan Neighbors, all of which are doing amazing on scoring. I think Rockwall Heath has only lost once to South Lake Carroll. Again, another tough team when you go up against, it's going to be a battle. And because both of their losses are 2 really strong teams, if this says anything about the teams, it just says that they're ready to put up a fight, especially against each other.
Yeah, Rockwall coming in at number 4 in our VYPE DFW football poll. Rockwall Heath at number 10. In the Dallas Morning News poll, they are number 4 and 5 respectively. It's 4 for Heath and 5 for Rockwall. So we favor Rockwall a little more in this one, but yeah, it's really going to be the battle of the quarterbacks, right? You have you have Rockwall Heath's quarterback Josh Hoover, an Indiana commit, and then Braden Locke, who hasn't committed but he's pledged to Mississippi State. They're both doing some great things through the air. But yeah, that Rockwall game has got me a little confused on this one. This one is going to be on our picks tomorrow. I think I favor Heath on this one. Just now, granted, Highland Park, yes, they're 5A, but they're a strong 5A squad, right? Obviously they beat a very good 6A program that just took care of Lake Travis for goodness sakes. So that's really a head scratcher, right? And maybe there's some of that they came out. You know how it is. Sometimes you come out really, really hot against an opponent like a Lake Travis, and then next week you come out a little flat, even though Highland Park's still a quality opponent. So this game is going to be really interesting for me to see. Okay, did Rockwall just come out flat, or is there something there that is a little concerning for the Yellow Jacket squad? Scotty, you want to give any intake on this game at all?
I mean, I don't know if there's really much else to add off of what Shana said. You know, it's a battle. It's a battle. Not only ISD teams, same schools in the same ISD, but a top 5 matchup in the Metroplex. It's going to be a fun one to watch, and I'm not, these rivalry games get people amped up in a different way than other games do. So whoever comes out victorious is obviously going to have a lot of momentum. Whoever comes away with the L, I'm still not counting them out for the season because it's still a long season and there's a lot of football to be played.
Couldn't agree more. Shana, as the DFW managing editor, I am giving you last words on this game. Any final thoughts on Rockwall versus Rockwall Heath?
I mean, I think it could have just, it's a possibility that it could have been a fluke, came out of the gate a little slow with Highland Park. But I also think the atmosphere at Highland Park is not like anything that they have seen in an away game this year. Their only away game has been Cedar Hill. Not that Cedar Hill doesn't show up, but they do, but it's nothing like Highland Park. The atmosphere at Highland Park is absolutely insane. But I will say that tonight's game is an away game at Rockwall Heath, who is also known for showing up in probably the same level as Highland Park. That's going to be probably big going on for Heath. It'll be I think this game's a toss-up. I think it'll be really good.
Well, we will get your pick on that tomorrow, but I think you're right. I mean, Highland Park hasn't lost, 2 games in 30 years at home because of just a mediocre atmosphere at their home stadium. So Highland Park is a place you really don't want to play as an away team. Let's move on to Austin, San Antonio. Let's take a look at Cedar Park versus Georgetown. Both of these teams have started relatively slow as they head into district play this week. This is their first district game apiece. Georgetown coming in at 1-2, as is Cedar Park. Both have if you really look at it, both have a really I won't say embarrassing, but they both have a blowout loss in week 1. They each rebounded in week 2, and then they each lost in week 3 to a very close game. On paper, I'm looking at Cedar Park, and even though they have identical records, I kind of favor Cedar Park in this one. I mean, they beat Cedar Ridge, and then they lose to Round Rock, which you think, okay, that makes sense, but then Cedar Ridge beats Round Rock the next week. So I don't know what to think about this one. I think I favor Cedar Park in this one. I think their quarterback is starting to get a little bit comfortable on things. Whereas I don't know about Georgetown. What do y'all think? Who wants to go on this one? Let's go with Scott.
I'll take this one here, Josh. I think, it's a tough matchup after Coach Absack left Cedar Park. Cedar Park made it to the state championship game last year, but they also lost their quarterback. So, we talk a lot about brand names, especially in Texas high school football, how it's easy to pick brand names. And Cedar Park is probably one of those brand names in the Austin area, especially at the 5A level, that whenever you see them on the schedule, you're like, man, I got to go Cedar Park. But it's just especially the transition year and everything, Cedar Park, maybe they found their legs near with the new quarterback. So, yeah, I'm not sure who I'm going to pick. This is almost like I'm going to pick out of the sky here, but I'm going with Georgetown, I believe. TBD, find out tomorrow on the show.
Yeah, and this one, we might not pick this one on the show, actually, so I got to go back and look. Let me take a look at that one. Shana, let me get your thoughts here.
All right, yeah. I think that, Josh Pell he's really stepping into the role. He's a new quarterback for Cedar Park, but he is also a senior, which means he's been there through it all. He's like we said about South Lake Carroll, do you think they didn't have a plan? Of course they have a plan. But with Georgetown, Herman has far less stats on the season. Not only does he have far less stats, but he's also the lead rusher for Georgetown. with less stats than Cedar Park's quarterback. And not only do you have Pell, you have Nicholson, who's doing amazing. And I really think that Georgetown is going to put up a battle. There's no doubt about that. But Cedar Park has shown more poise on the field this season.
Yeah, and we are picking that game tomorrow, so we won't give our picks on it. But I agree. I think Cedar Park has kind of set itself up to be the favorite in this one. It's just, do we pick the favorite or do we pick the underdog? So tune in tomorrow to find out that one. Let's move to Houston for one of the games, and we're going to talk Bridgeland versus Langham Creek. On paper, this seems like an easy Bridgeland win, but then, I mean, you look at their one common opponent, right? Their one common opponent is Woodlands, and both lost to Woodlands by 4, if I'm not mistaken. Let me take a look here. Oh, no, so Langham Creek lost by 6, Bridgeland lost by 4. So if you look at the similar opponent, they both played Woodland, or Woodlands played both of them really close. Now, we've talked on previous shows that does Woodlands maybe play up or play down to their competition? Is that why Langham Creek, was good? I mean, it was also week 1 that Langham Creek played the Woodlands. So was there, is there some week 1 rust there by Woodlands? Maybe we really don't know. So while I think Connor Wangman and Bridgeland have to be the favorite, I mean, that quarterback has just been doing some amazing things. Maybe Langham Creek, maybe it's not going to be as a blowout as many people might think. Scott, what do you think?
All right, I was on mute. Bad habit. Langham Creek is sneaky, man. I'm telling you, they're sneaky. Their names are forgetting me, or escaping my head right now, but they got a quarterback who can sling it, and then they have a wide receiver who's a dynamic playmaker. They were in it with the Woodlands. It was a shootout. I think it was 2 different games. The Woodlands, as we've talked about, the Woodlands plays up or down to the competition, and they play to a style. With Langham Creek, it was a shootout. With Lamar High School, it was a grinded out battle. Same thing with Katy. So in Bridgeland, the thing is that these are both really good quarterbacks, and Bridgeland is led by one of the best quarterbacks in the country in Connor Wigman. So this one, expect a lot of points. That's what I'm getting at. Expect a lot of points. I think that Bridgeland is probably favored, though, because of Connor Wigman. Going into the season, one of the concerns for Bridgeland was, do they have enough weapons around Connor Wigman to get in the end zone? And as Josh Cook pointed out, Connor Wigman is the weapon. The guy's a dynamic playmaker. This is one of those games where he's going to put the team on his back and carry the Bridgeland Bears to victory.
Shana, you were talking a little bit about this game before we came on air. What do you think about this matchup?
Well, first, I just kind of want to verify, did Bridgeland lose to the Woodlands, or did they beat the Woodlands?
No, they beat them by 4.
Okay. And then, on paper, I was saying earlier, on paper, it's so unevenly matched. But if you take a look at Langham's quarterback situation, yeah, they have a great quarterback in Johnson, but they also have a great quarterback in Murray. So I think it's a potential that we'll see both quarterbacks step onto the field against Bridgeland. Could it be an upset? Sure. There's always a chance. Anything's possible. Will it be? I don't think so. Not with Wigman in the pocket.
Yeah, I think this contest is going to be a little closer than last year's 42-8 affair. I think Langham Creek has showed like last year, they barely missed out on the playoffs. I think they dropped their last game. They had a win to make the playoffs. I think they do stand a shot at making playoffs with the way they've played so far. Of course, everything changes when we get in a district, but the way they played the Woodlands to start the year and the way they played Jersey Village, I think this game is going to be a little more competitive this year. But you have to, as of now, you have to favor Bridgeland. Scott, did you want to get a last word in? I couldn't tell.
I think this game is going to remind people of, if you remember from back in the days, Baker Mayfield in Oklahoma, Patrick Mahomes in Texas Tech. It was like 65-60 or whatever, just back and forth, gunslinging. I think this game is going to be very similar to that.
I would not doubt that one bit. I think it's going to either be like a blowout or a very close game. It's not going to really be maybe like It's not going to be like a 14 or 20, 17 point affair or something like that. All right, let's move back. I want to move back to the San Antonio area, so I'm kind of picking my areas, if you will, and let's do probably the best matchup in the San Antonio area this coming Friday. San Antonio Johnson taking on Brandeis. Both teams come into the affair 4-0. We have, I think, do we have any of the? We might not have them ranked. Let me check right now. We may not have them ranked in our top 10, but I mean, we have the likes of Westlake and Lake Travis and a few other and Brennan to contend with. So let me take a look here to see if they are ranked in our poll. They are not, but again, we also doing 5A as well. They're probably they're right outside. I have them just always right outside. So in KSAT 12, which is San Antonio news station, they have Brandeis coming in at number 8 and Johnson coming in at number 4. So 2 top 10 matchups in the San Antonio area, and they're very similar on paper. This is really going to be a coin flip. Brandeis has utilized kind of a dual quarterback situation with J.C. Evans and Nico Garcia, but it's really their ground attack that have really helped Brandeis to start the year. They've gotten over 1,000 yards in just 4 games, and then on the Jaguar side, it's Cruz Kerwin has probably been the quarterback. He's been very solid under center. But it's their running game as well. So it's really going to come down to which defense can stop the run, if you ask me. I don't know if you looked at these 2 games. Let's go, Shana. Shana, have you looked at this game? What do you think about this 4-0 versus 4-0 matchup?
I agree. It's going to be a battle of defenses because you do have Cruz Kerwin, and he has, I think over 600 passing yards, 6 touchdowns. His completion is like 62-ish%. But the quarterback game is strong with Brandeis too. So I think it's going to come down to the defense. Defense is everything, as we know. And if I had to pick this right here, right now, I couldn't. It's going to be a really good game.
Well, you'll have about 24 hours to think about it because this one will be on the pick'ems tomorrow. Scott, I know we've talked about these 2 teams just right now with their running power. And it's going to come down to defense. What do you think about this matchup?
Josh, it sounds like it might, and I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like it could be an old school, grinded out, pounded out, defensive, classic Texas high school football matchup. That's what you want, especially it's kind of like a nice change of pace, to be honest, especially compared to all these spread offenses. Yeah, people like points and whatnot, but I don't know. As a football guy, there's nothing like seeing a good old defense, good old ground and pound, fight for every yard, scratch. I'm excited to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, it very could be. I think it'll either be that or it'll be like one of those games we just talked about with the Bridgeland Langham Creek, where it's a back and forth affair where really neither of them can stop the run. So because both teams have done very well offensively if you go and look at their scores. But now it's going to come down. But their defenses have also done really well if you look at those scores. So except for last week, I will say Brandeis against Clark last week had a very close affair against Clark. I have the score here. Let me get it to you. It was 45-35. So outside of that, it's really been their defenses have done really well and their offensive has done really well. So I think it's really going to come down to defense in this one. Let's move back to the DFW area now, and let's talk the surprise 4-0 team in that area. That is McKinney Boyd, who will be taking on Braswell, who I believe is, and Shana, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they're 2-2 on the season, if I'm correct.
I think you're right. I'm actually looking that up right now to be sure. But like you said, it's a surprise 4-0 start for McKinney Boyd. No, Braswell is 3-1.
3-1. There you go.
But although it's a surprise, you kind of got to sit back and think, well, is it really? Because these guys have, worked for years to be good at what they are, and they're finally at the point where they're like, hey, look at me, you're sleeping on us. I think a big thing to note is that Braswell did beat Northwest Eaton last week, and I would say that their quarterback is a little bit underrated. He has a few passing yards, but he's also scored 4 rushing touchdowns, 8 passing touchdowns. Their defense has been good against Saxey, Mesquite, Horn, and Eaton. Their only losses come to Keller. On the other end of it, McKinney Boyd, like I said, they're tough this year. Last week was a very close game against Byron Nelson. As we know, that was a returned point after block. But Ryan Shackleton is going out onto the field every single game and giving it his all. You have Carter Whitefield, Caden Park, Peyton Shaw. All of them are playing exceptionally well for McKinney Boyd. They're gonna be a tough one to stop. They're not like anybody else that Braswell has faced this season. It has a potential to be a very high scoring game though, so you're not gonna want to take your eyes off of this one for sure.
Yeah, one of the greatest endings to a game. I mean, that block kick, it was one of our plays of the week. So if you haven't seen that yet, go check it out. It didn't get our play of the week from the fan poll, but it was one of our plays of the week. But this game is not one of our pick'ems. I wanted to throw in another game in there for the pick'ems, so this is not one of our pick'ems. So let's talk about it now. Does McKinney Boyd, are they able to continue, this quote unquote magical run? Well, from what the media are saying, but from what the locker room is saying is we knew this all along. We're this kind of squad. Do they continue this run, Shana?
I want to give it to them. I think they do. Braswell, don't sleep on them. They're a very good team. They're going to have a really good season. But I think McKinney Boyd is doing the most that they can this year to really prove themselves, and I think they'll take this win.
Scotty, you want to get in on this action? Do you want to pick between Boyd and Braswell?
Is McKinney Boyd a team of destiny? I want to pick a team to be the team of destiny. Maybe it's Atascocita. Maybe it's South Lake Carroll. Maybe it's Westlake. I don't know. TBD. Nobody's proven me to be a team of destiny. Atascocita might have been there. McKinney Boyd, though, surprised. What's your first ever 4-0 start? Potentially. Let's see how they do this week. I want to give that label to somebody. It could be McKinney Boyd. They're on the short list right now. But yes, I'm going McKinney.
Well, after this game, they only have Allen, and then a couple of weeks later, Denton Geyer. So it's not like their schedule is going to get any easier the rest of the season. So if they do,
that's actually a very good barometer, though, because who else from Houston faced those two teams?
Atascocita.
How does McKinney Boyd do against teams like that? I think we'll also really kind of gauge if, hey, who might, when it comes to state championship time, are the Dallas teams more favored? Are the Houston teams? Some of the Hill Country teams? South Texas teams? I don't know. So that's why those cross-city games are really important at the beginning of the season, in my opinion.
What I hear Scott saying is that McKinney Boyd has a team of destiny schedule. Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on to our final game of the show, and that is probably the big one in the Houston area. That is Tomball taking on Tomball Memorial. What a huge matchup this is going to be. I know in the VYPE Coaches Corner, which aired last night, so if you haven't watched it, go back and check that out. This is actually split between the four. Coach McDowell and Josh picked Tomball. Coach Williams and Dennis picked Tomball Memorial. Scott, tell us about this one. Scotty, you're on mute, so I'm going to go to Shana. Shana, you tell us what you got on this one.
Dang it. I'm here.
Go ahead, Scott. Go ahead.
All right. I love ISD matchups because it's rivalry matchups. It's the Auburn, it's the Alabama, it's the formerly Texas A&M. Those rivalry matchups that you love to see. Tomball and Tomball Memorial is no different. I don't know what to do here. It's really interesting that on the coach show last night, they were going back and forth because Tomball has a gunslinger at quarterback. Tomball is playing some really good football. Last year was a really intense matchup. It always is. This one, in my opinion, is probably a coin flip, and I'm going to go Tomball. I think they got just enough firepower to – it's going to be a close one, though. Expect it to be, 3 to 7 point game.
Now, I know, Scott, you got to get out of here, so let's go ahead and say our goodbyes now while I get Shana, before I get Shana on. So, Scotty, thanks for coming on the show today, man.
Yes, I'm sorry I have to leave a little bit early, though, but appreciate y'all having me on. Get ready for some high school football tonight. Preview show tomorrow. I'm sure Josh will do all the plugs at the end. Y'all are the best, and we'll see you at the games.
There you go. Shana, what can you tell us about this game? Tomball obviously starting out 4-0. Tomball Memorial 2-2, but they've lost two really good squads. What can you tell us?
Tomball Memorial is really good. They have Odell in the pocket, Rodriguez on the ground. They're really good, Tomball Memorial is. But you've got to give it to Tomball. They are 4-0 on the start, and like Scott said, I was going to say this earlier with Rockwall and Rockwall Heath, there's just something about in-town games that the atmosphere is already going to be crazy. So you mix that with Tomball's quarterback and Womack and Flanagan, it's going to be absolutely insane out there on the field, much less in the stands. Are we picking this one tomorrow, or should I go ahead and do it?
We are not, so you are free to pick this one right now.
Okay. I think Tomball has this. I think it'll be an amazing fight, don't get me wrong. But Tomball has this for sure.
Yeah, I think Tomball as well. Just looking yes, Tomball Memorial has lost some matchups with some good squads, but I haven't really seen enough from them to give me confidence that they can stop Tomball's undefeated streak so far. So I think it will be a close matchup. Probably a little closer than last year's affair. I think last year's was an 18-point win for Tomball, if I'm not mistaken. In fact, I have it here. Let me see. Oh no, it was not 18. It was 28 points. Oh no, it was Tomball Memorial beat Tomball in 2020. I think it's going to be reversed on who wins, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think Tomball Memorial will hang in there. But hey, you never know. So that will be our show today. Shana, go ahead and plug that DFW area for me.
All right, go ahead and follow us on Twitter at VYPEDFW, on Instagram, VYPE_DFW. Make sure you're always logging in and checking in on all the action all week long. That's
right. And hey, follow us on all our social medias on Facebook, VYPE Texas, YouTube, VYPE. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. We also are across Instagram and Twitter. It's usually VYPE Houston for Twitter and Instagram, VYPE SATX for San Antonio and Austin. Like you said, VYPE DFW. Make sure to tune on to our shows every week. We'll be back tomorrow at noon for our pick'em show, where we'll pick some of these games and a couple of others that I didn't want to preview today. Until then, everyone, this has been our preview show. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow.